Yeah, so I'm very much of the independent comics industry, which means a lot of like webcomics and crowdfunded comics as well. Organizations and publishers that I really look up to include Iron Circus Comics, Short Box, and my friend Eve Greenwood has recently developed their own Scottish publishing house, Quindry Press. And obviously, gotta mention Chip Collective as well. So I'm very interested to see how the independent comics industry grows and gets more recognition, because I think that we can get so much done with our independent comics because you don't have this sort of like corporate entity telling you what you can and can't include and what's going to ruffle some rich people's feathers. We don't need to worry about any of that. And I think that's a really interesting perspective. And I think it's really cool to be able to see stories that might not have otherwise been told. Crowdfunded comics like on Kickstarter can really help to facilitate that, which I think is very, very good.
I did not have a traditional way of getting it, if there even is that anymore. That's not like you rock up when you're 18 and go, I don't know what else to do. I guess I'll become a comics artist, and then you're there for 80 years or something. I hadn't really written comics before I came to Dundee. And then I started doing it as part of like the masters or just being around so many comics people. I'd done like creative writing. And so I was like, oh, kind of give it a try. And my friends are editors at DC Thomson, and they had kind of mentioned that Commando was looking for new writers. And I just kind of said, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. And they were like, oh, really? Is that something you'd be interested in? I was like, yeah, I mean, Commando's been around forever. Yeah, I'd like to try. And they said, okay, well, next time there's a call for new people, we'll let you know. And so I submitted a pitch. And after some revisions, they gave me the green light to make the script. But I had what I now consider probably rare joy of having 2 female editors that I talked to. So I really have only dealt with women, even though we're making what used to be considered boys comics. The editors are almost all women. So for me, it was never like, oh, this is a bit much, or, oh, you're talking about ladies too much. It was a bunch of gals going, yeah, that's good.
Well, what is the industry? Most of my work has been with friends, it's been with people I've met on the course or people they've put me in touch with. I've had a few small pieces published on websites. I've technically speaking got a website of my own, which various people from the course have worked on. I think it's certainly for small creators these days, it's massively internet based, and that's why I'm feeling quite out of it at the moment. I used to be hugely online. I follow a lot of comics people. I had some really positive interactions with a lot of people I met online. I think a big one a lot of people love is Gail Simone. She epitomizes the communal idea we have about comics, of it as a community. The people who love it all have something in common. We lift each other up. And it's also how I used to find new comics creators, new artists to follow. I rarely go on Twitter anymore, and it's something that I know that I need to get back to, because a friend of mine and I are working on an anthology with some of the artists from the Dundee course, which has now stretched on considerably longer than it was meant to due to the pandemic. The pandemic itself has made it more difficult, certainly for me, to operate in an online space, and I think that's how comics have generally worked for me. It's how I've made contact, it's how I've got work done. So I'm trying to figure out a way to still work in, I guess, what has been the industry for me and protect my mental health at the same time.
I feel like I've been very kind of lucky so far and had really pretty good experiences generally in making comics. And also we're generally quite lucky just kind of being in Scotland. There are lots of cons nearby. We've got good transport links to that kind of thing. And there are a lot of people making comics in this part of Scotland especially. So I think that that's really important. Even if you're just making comics that you're making on your own, collaboration is so important, and being able to talk about this stuff with other people who are also interested in it and making comics is so important. So that's been really good. Also just for like having advice, like even over lockdown, being part of like Discord groups with other comics creators so that I can ask, how does click and drop work? How do you do a Kickstarter? And all these things that otherwise are really difficult to figure out if you're all on your own, and you end up going, oh, I don't know how to do this, well maybe I just won't then. And having access to other people who you can figure it out together, even if you don't necessarily any of you know 100%, you can figure out between you, and it makes it so much more accessible. And I think that's something that maybe we're seeing quite a lot of in comics going forward, like micro presses and small print setups that are there to help other marginalised creators are really positive kind of movement within comics. I think especially in the UK we're seeing more and more of them.
I've had such an amazing experience with comics. I've been so blessed, and Dundee is such an amazing, incredible place for comics. I think I kind of fell into the comic studies by accident, but I ended up as many modules I could do of comics. So I did the third year module, did the fourth year module, did my dissertation on the Joker, then went on to the masters, then stayed on for the PhD. I also teach medicine and literature comics at the university twice a year as well. I love teaching comics. So I've been so lucky to be a part of that. And I've always felt there's the opportunities I've been given as part of being at the university. So many interesting topics that I've been brought in on that are so amazing to be a part of. And I talked about working with artists and collaborating with artists, but I also collaborate with writers. So most of those scripts on the group ones, we're all co-writers. There's like 5 writers on it, and we do these things like comics jams, where we all just like throw ideas off each other, and having the comic space to be able to go to and feed ideas off each other and see what people are doing. I'm amazed by the talent that's in Dundee. It's such a friendly community as well. I've always felt very welcomed. I don't think I would have been able to get anywhere near that experience in another university, in another place. I think there's something just so unique about Dundee and what the university is doing.
I would prefer traditional. I've never done a Kickstarter. It would be a useful experience, and it also appears to be a really good way of connecting with an audience when I watch people doing it as well, building up followers. People do all sorts of interesting stuff. It looks like a good thing to do. I do like the traditional published thing. I think this is going back to that I am actually quite traditional, I'm realising more and more. But yes, if I found it difficult to get the Patsy papers published, then I would look into self-publishing in some way and Kickstarters and things like that. Probably forced me to make smaller books as well, I think, because I'm like, oh my God, it's so expensive doing these huge books. Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly like to try doing things like zines. When I have done festivals, comic festivals, it does tend to be the smaller things that sell really easily, and it's really handy that to have like a £5 booklet, they tend to go really fast, as opposed to these huge, heavy books.
So for those who don't know me, I'm first most known for is Billy Minu, which is a graphic memoir, and that was published in 2011. So I haven't published any books since then of drawing, but then I moved on to become an academic and was interested in the history. So I have these two heads as a historian and a maker, but also I'm known because of my work with LD Comics. So all those different roles come together. So my experience of being in the industry has been brilliant. First of all, in the UK, the comics community is very small and very welcoming. And the moment that, we've been running LD Comics, established as Ladies Do Comics in 2009. So it's been around for 10 years. And there's so many women identifying people who we've got to know through that and whose stories have been shared through the platforms. So it's women led, but not women only, but we platform guest speakers to talk about their works loosely related to comics. So it's not just comics makers, it might be filmmakers who are using text and image, it might be poets, it might be academics, it might be fine artists. So it's always been quite a wide remit. And since September last year, we've been hosting online sessions, and that's really where my interest has started to be, maybe since The Inking Woman came out in 2008. So my area of knowledge is UK feminist cartoons and comics. However, this started my curiosity about what about the rest of the world. And so by going online, it's enabling us to invite a global community of women and men comics makers, which, wouldn't have happened without the pandemic. It's pretty nice.
So I make everything digitally, but I like having a physical thing of this is being born, this has happened, look mum, I've done stuff. In terms of reading, I'll read anything. I still buy books, I buy things digitally, I kickstart a lot of books. I get into a lot of webcomics and then I kind of forget to keep up with them, but then quite a lot of them end up publishing a print copy and I'm like, yes, or they go to Kickstarter, I'm like, yes, give me all of this at once. I do support you, but I'm just scatterbrained. Creating wise, I think because most of what I do just now is sort of creating with organizations and like working with charities. I don't really think of it in a kind of how do I want this? It's sort of what is the audience for this? So like if it's younger people, then having digital outputs is really good. Whereas if it's older people, having physical, not to say older people can't use digital, but just as like a broad example, it's very much kind of what is the audience for that. In terms of industry experience, I'm coloring a book for an American publisher and I'm working with like an amazing art artist, but I'm under an NDA, so I can't talk about it. But it has been a very good experience so far. It's similar to things that I like. It's very much a dream project, and the artist is European as well, and I like a lot of European comics, so I'm just like, yes, it's a super collaborative working relationship, and the writer is really nice as well, and it's just like, I don't know how this happened, but I'm having a good time.
I think because being creative is also embedded with like life, like living, like going from A to B, getting everything that you need to get done. I wouldn't necessarily say that I've got to a stage of having a preference. It's more that I've found ways, and through the ways that I've found, I then see what works and what doesn't work. And I have so far found that crowdfunding is brilliant. Like, I really enjoy the crowdfunding process. And with that, I kind of discovered that I liked working with somebody, because my partner, when I did Wings about working in prison, my partner Victoria, she took on a lot of the campaign side of things, which was really useful. I think it's a really lovely way to publish, because you become so much more acquainted with your audience as you're going. And same with my current work, Like an Orange, it's the same. I spent the early part of that campaign really kind of getting it out there and meeting new people, even if it's through the internet, you know, it's discovering new communities. And I think that's really an amazing thing. The internet is a brilliant way of finding them and making connections. I haven't ever done the more straightforward, gone to a publisher, they've said yes and they've published it. I haven't had that experience. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of with Unbound, I'm now with Lizzie Kay and Cast Iron Books. It was that because I pitched to her and she agreed. So that was a lovely feeling and I really liked that. But because the model was crowdfunding, it still has a bit of the crowdfunding aspect to it as well. It's just part of my nature really to kind of glean the positive, because this is kind of how it's manifested. Like, I've put something out there, it's gone like this, I'm looking at it, seeing how I can work with that and what's good about it, and that's how I work really. It's going with the flow but engaging with it, like just doing stuff. It's a bit of give and take.